The National Hispanic Media Coalition. I am listening to the song You're Dead by Carmen Tanega. And this is the theme song for What We Do in the Shadows. Our guest today, let me see if he sent me a request. There we are. Okay. Our guest today, our chat today is with GLAAD award-winning actor, Harvey Guillen.
Hi.
Welcome to NHMC's Open Dialogue.
Thanks for having me.
Do you hear the song that I'm listening
I
to?
know, I was dancing to it.
Listen, I was looking up the music because it's very catchy. And Norma is Latina, the writer, the folk singer of this song.
Oh yeah?
Yes.
I've only heard variations of it. I know the original one. Is Norma the original writer, right? Because I know that the original writer passed away, I think, last year. I think
That's her.
That was Norma, yeah.
Danega. I think she was local here in California.
Oh wow, that's so nice. I didn't know that. See, I learned something new. I just thought it was like Taika's or Jermaine's favorite like song for it, and I was like, wow, they found that cool song.
No, her mama was Panamanian. Her father was from the Philippines.
Oh, that's nice. That's a nice combination.
So Harvey, you and I met you I know we've seen each other before, but when we really chatted and got to know each other was at Sundance in January this year. Right.
Yeah, that's right.
Panel, and you were in a different panel for the Latinx House. And it was a wonderful Sundance this year because for the first time, Latinos actually had an official Latinx House, a part of Sundance, and Monica Ramirez had a lot to do with that.
Yeah, that was actually really great. That was my first Sundance, actually. I've never been to Sundance, and I was invited to go and be part of this panel, and I was so excited. And to be there and have the first year to have, the Latinx House was kind of a cool, big deal for me because I was like, this is my first time here, and it's the first time they have this, so it was kind of perfect. It was a perfect Sundance for a first-timer.
Sundance. And I don't know if you knew this, but for the first time, there was an Indigenous house.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So history was made. And I'm so happy that we got a chance to chat. And you were a wonderful speaker. But what I really admire about you, that you were very transparent and open. And
yeah. I have nothing to hide. I literally, I'm pretty open about everything just because, I just feel people feel comfortable opening up to me and I do the same. So sometimes that can be problematic, I guess, because then you're too open and you're too vulnerable, I guess. But I'd rather just be that and not, put on airs or something.
When you're vulnerable, you're courageous. Courage and vulnerability go together. I just saw Brenna Brown talk about that. So actually you're courageous if you're vulnerable.
Oh.
And I so love that you're so proud of being queer and Mexican because, right now, go ahead.
I just think that it's important. I feel pride of where I come from. And I feel pride in who I am. And for so long, you were told that you shouldn't be, certain things, or you won't work if you're too this, if you're too queer, if you're too Mexican, if you're too short, if you're too fat, if you're too this. So you're being told constantly all the things that you're not good or what represents the negativity in you. But I had to realize that what people consider traditionally the things that are negative in a person are my strengths. So I am, Mexican, I am queer, I am, plus size, I am short, I am all these things, and I am all those things, and that's what makes me who I am, and that's what I'm offering. So I'm offering you that product, and you're either gonna like that, and it's your cup of tea, or it's not. So I'll start pouring, I'll pour that tea to someone else, and they'll drink it up.
That's right. In fact, I have my wine and I'm drinking it up, and you have what drink with you for happy hour?
I have this drink that my friends at Red Bull made. It's called the Familiar, in honor of the character, and it's basically it's fresh watermelon juice, some agave, and tequila, and a little bit of their new Red Bull watermelon flavor. So cheers to
Cheers
a
to
great
you.
conversation.
Yeah. Harvey, I have to tell you, I love your character, Guillermo.
Oh, yeah?
Guillermo means a lot to me. My father was William Guillermo. My grandfather was Guillermo. My son, middle name is William. And my two nephews have William either as their first or middle name. So
Oh my God, that's the whole family.
practically, I might have been named Wilma. I don't know.
But
But
did they ever nickname any of them Memo?
no, there was a Slick Willie.
Like, I know that Guillermo del Toro's nickname is Memo because, like, I think in Mexico the abbreviated Guillermo is Memo.
Yes.
And so you get Memo a lot.
In elementary school, I had a friend named Memo. Yeah.
Someone said, "Shout out to Sick Willie, Slick Willie."
Slick. That's sick. Maybe he was sick too. He was definitely slick. What we do in the shadows. I got to tell you, it's hilarious. And you can go, I just kept on watching the episodes. I just need to know what's happening next, And I relate to Guillermo, I think, because all he wants to do is to be appreciated. He wants to help. He wants to take care of everything, and no one appreciates him. He just needs a little TLC, and he's taking care of everybody. He wants some acknowledgement. So
yeah, I feel like it's so like, isn't that like a weird way that life is? I feel that being Latino and like being, a caretaker or the head of the household, or even just like helping in the household, you do things because they're expected of you, but we forget that you got to thank people, like you got to thank them for being there. And like, we come from like such hardworking, like my parents were immigrants, and like they are hard workers, and like they put this like work ethic into me that, you work your hardest, with not expectations of getting, some accolade, or like you just do your job, you do it well, because if you do it, people will notice it and you will get promotions. So, you will get promoted, you get to the next. But sometimes people don't, like Guillermo, they don't appreciate him. They don't like thank him for all his hard work. And I got to think of all of the times that, how many people work so hard and they don't get thanked for the jobs they do, especially right now during this time with first responders, like, like they're superheroes.
I kind of look at Guillermo as a superhero, a quiet superhero, because he's, the episode that I just saw, the actual vampires, they were afraid that they were going to be killed, and you were out killing all the vampires, protecting everybody. You come back, they said, "Where were you, Guillermo, when I needed you?" Yeah.
So I'm grateful, not knowing that I'm battling my own, like, battle to protect them behind closed doors. They're so ungrateful.
So listen, how do you prepare for the role of Guillermo?
Well, it's funny because when I auditioned for the role, like he was 20 years older than I am. And so I didn't really have anything in mind. And it's weirdly enough, when I went in for it, it happened so quickly. I went to wine and cheese night, and I met someone there that the next day texted me and said, "Hey, I think you're really funny. You should audition for my fiance's new show." And I was like, "What?" And I was like, I looked into it, and like, so I got the audition basically on my own. Like, I got the audition from a wine and cheese night, and then I got in. I called like my agent. I was like, "Hey, can you set up this meeting?" And went in, and I didn't think I was going to be the right age, because in the script he was 20 years older, and I was just like, "Oh no, I'm not going to be the right age," because sometimes that can like really, kill your opportunity. But I made a career out of going in for parts that are not necessarily right for me. So it was 20 years older, and I said, well, this is what I think he is at this age right now. And I went in with that mentality and just try to make myself a little bit older. I wore like a long sleeve, like orange shirt with this, I still have all this stuff, this brown sweater vest, and I popped out these Harry Potter glasses, and I used the frame, and I parted my hair in the middle, and I curled it into like this, like, Victorian looking hair. And I went in like that, and I was like, I'm either gonna like, really make an impression. I really wanted to impress Allison Jones, the casting director, who I'd never gone in for before. And I was like, if anything, I'll make a friend out of her. She wasn't even there. She was in London auditioning for the part. And so I auditioned for the casting associate there. And a couple hours later, they called and said, "You're going to test for it." And I was like, whoa. So if you're not familiar with what that means, is they do a chemistry read or a test with the people they're thinking about, hiring. And weeks went by, I never heard from anyone. And eventually one weekend on a Sunday, I think it was the MLK weekend, holiday weekend, I got a text from an unknown number. It was like a 14-digit, 16-digit number. And I was like, who's calling me from out of the country? And I picked up the phone, and it was Jermaine and Taika. And they were like, hey, is this Harvey? And I was like, yeah.
Wow.
And so like, he's like, hey, you auditioned for us and you're the mate. And I was like, no, I'm going to test for you, right? He was like, no, you're not testing. And I was like, what? And so I never tested for the role. I never met the creators. I literally booked this off. I went to Angie's and I went to meet and put myself on tape for the casting associate, and then everyone saw it, and off the tape they booked me.
The universe aligned itself for you.
Yeah, I think it was perfect. But to like prepare for him, like once I booked it, I kind of like made a formula. Like I kind of deep down inside, I was like, well, I don't know a lot of Guillermos, so for me, I was like, I'm gonna find my own, But I did put elements of like, I like the idea that I envisioned a young Guillermo del Toro, like in how his mind would work and how he likes scary things and gothic things, and how it would have been to be a young Guillermo. And so I did incorporate that a little bit into the hairdo when I did part my hair like him, and I did keep that in mind. And so like it's so weird because I didn't base it off of him, but I definitely thought this would have been cool. What would Guillermo would have been at that age, younger Guillermo.
So do you admire Guillermo del Toro's work?
I do. I'm a big fan, actually. And I went to the exhibit they had here in Los Angeles a couple of years ago. And it's so funny because it's such a small part of what I was thinking with the character. But now everyone's like, oh, it kind of gives me a young Guillermo vibe. It gives me it looks like Guillermo with his glasses, and it looks like that Guillermo. And so it's kind of fun to like get, compared a little bit to that. But definitely Guillermo de la Cruz is not Guillermo del Toro.
You mentioned that your parents were from Mexico. What part of Mexico?
My mom is from Sinaloa, and my dad, he's my stepdad, but he raised me since I was 6, so I call him dad. He's my father. He is from Sahuayo.
Okay. We have a lot of viewers on. Thank you for joining us today, and they have questions. Let me look for some and comments. Okay, everybody thinks you're a badass here. Great stuff.
Oh, viva la papers aquí.
The power of wine and cheese night.
Yeah.
This is from LA, are you reading anything while you're in quarantine?
I'm rereading some of my favorites, and also reading like my own writing. So I've been writing a lot recently and revisiting it, because then you look at it again and you're like, oh yeah, I don't like that anymore. I'm gonna change that. So I change stuff with my writing partner. We've been like doing Zoom sessions, but I revisited recently, reading 2 of my like favorites or childhood favorites, and which was House on Mango Street.
Yes.
The Great Gatsby, which I always just, when I have time, I just like to visit. I love the 1920s, so I kind of fall into that era. And it's such a cool story. I like the idea of Jay Gatsby being a self-made person, and it ends tragically, but a self-made person, I feel like that's like the American dream. Like, the opportunity to make whatever you want out of your life always resonates with me.
You're a prime example of that. Araceli Velasco, question, how is it working with Matt Berry? Did you ever watch the IT Crowd?
No, so that's so weird, because Matt is so talented, and I had never, so bad. I never heard of him until I did the show, because I didn't watch any like European television. I guess I must have been living under a rock or something, but I had never heard of him. So when I met him, I was just, which I'm glad I hadn't, because I would have like fanboyed over it, but I didn't, and I was just myself and, saying hi to him. But no, I had never seen any of his work, but he's so funny. And I know he has a show in the UK right now called Toast of London is one of them. He has multiple shows in the UK right now. Year of the Rabbit is another one that he's in. But yeah, so I never met him, but his voice is just like, he has such a distinctive voice when he's like a bat, or his, now my darling. Like it's just inflection on his voice is really charming. I always like listening to him talk.
So here's a question from Nearly Niffin. What was your favorite part of the show? What part of the show shooting? What was your favorite shot, I guess?
Oh man, so for season 1, there was a scene that I really liked that I hoped it would make it, and it didn't because we ran out of time. And it was for the pilot, and it's Guillermo raking the leaves for the last day in the sunlight. So he like looks up at the sun and like it takes in the rays for the last day because he thinks that night his master's going to make him into a vampire. And I thought it was such a sweet moment, and I remember we shot that and it was just like, oh, that's so sweet. And it got cut. So it was one of my favorite moments. Doesn't exist in the pilot, but maybe one day it'll exist in the special effects or special edition or whatnot. And in season 2, I really enjoyed this last episode that aired last night, the with the mosquito hunters. It's such a group, like a great group of actors and people. I just had a blast with them, and an action, packed episode was last night. So I got to do a lot of stunts, a lot of work. But another favorite episode is the finale, which is coming up in a couple of weeks or like 2 months, I guess. Yeah.
Well, episode is tonight, right? Thursday?
No, the last episode aired last night. So episode 4 aired last night. And yeah, the curse episode aired last night, and the next one will be next Wednesday.
Okay, Freddie XFJ, do you guys shoot at a house in Pasadena?
We shot the pilot, the exterior shot in Pasadena, yes. But when we got picked up for a series, we moved location. So for me, it was kind of bad because we had to move from LA, or I had to move from LA to Toronto, Canada. And so we ended up shooting the exterior of the pilot house. We split it. We used some of that exterior, and we used some of the exterior of a house that we found in Toronto. Now, the sad part is that we also lost that house last season because they made the house, which is a good reason, they made the house into a women's shelter. And so it's a good reason, but they were no longer going to allow to film exterior shots there. So we had to build the mansion from scratch, the exterior, for this season. So when you look at any stuff that we do outside the house this season, that is not the original house. It's built to look like the original house down to the last brick. And that's all because of like Kate Bunch, like, and the amazing team that does all of our sets. Like it blows my mind when I think about it. Like it's like that house is not real. Like it was real, now it's not. But yeah, also that little note is that house is also the house in It, the movie. So we live in the same house that It lives. Yeah.
I like that movie.
Yeah.
Are you into horror movies?
I do like horror. I like thriller, slasher. Like I'm into like the Halloween, Scream, that like, I don't know, that suspense, like there's a killer on the loose. I like that movie idea, but also like horror, like classics. I'm more into like the old like black and white ones. Like I remember my dad would watch like old Cantinflas movies, and like then they'd show like a horror film, but it was like in black and white. I like that, but I like slasher films. It's like a scarier concept to me. Like a man in a mask chasing you with a knife terrifies me.
What was the last film you watched?
The last film, like in theaters or?
Yes, in theaters.
Oh man. In theaters, that sounds like forever. Forever is an awfully long time.
Okay, how about a series that you're watching that's not
a series? I was just talking to someone about this, that I'm catching up with Vida, Tania Saracho's show, and I'm also catching up with One Day at a Time, Gloria Calderon Kellett's show.
I love Gloria. We love Christina. I just had Isabella Gomez on Tuesday.
Yeah, I love that. I've gone and visit on set. I was actually supposed to be in an episode this season, and I was out of town shooting in New York, and I couldn't do it. And so that was
now.
It was unfortunate because I really I admire her so much, and she's such a fan of the show too. That's how I met her, because I knew of her work before, and then she met me when the show aired last season, and I knew Tania, and so I think Tania introduced us and became friends. And she's like, yeah, I love that show. I love One Day at a Time, and I love the whole cast, and I love that kind of comedy. 3-cam comedy is like my whole thing. I grew up watching that. Like I Love Lucy, just really fun.
So we've had a chat before, and I want you to share this with the viewers. You you knew you wanted to become an actor at a very young age. I think you watched Annie.
Yeah, I was about 5 or 6, and I was watching Annie at home, and it was winter break for um, school, and I thought that I was watching a TV show because I didn't know that they could play movies on TVs. And we didn't go to the theaters or anything like that. That was a luxury. And I thought I was watching a TV show, and I was watching Annie, and they were singing and dancing. And I looked over at my mom, and I said, "Mom, I want to be that. I want to be an orphan."
Mm.
And she looked at me and she's like, ¿Qué? ¿Estás loco? And I was like, well, yeah, I want to be an orphan. And she's like, ¿Estás loco? No, son actores, they're actors. And I was like, oh, I want to be an actor. And she goes, no, no hay dinero. And I was like, no hay dinero, there's no money for being an actor. You have to have money to be an actor. And she goes, see, like they take classes, they take training, they take coaching. And I was like, well, I want to do that. Why can't I do that? And so, mijo, no hay dinero para eso. Like, we have no money for that. And, she's trying to make ends meet. And here was a luxury that, like, I didn't grow up with, like, if you did your chores, you got an allowance. Like, you did your chores because it's part of what you did every day and you liked it. Like, you did your chores because it's what you contributed to the family, and you didn't get money for that. So it was weird for me growing up in that, like, two different worlds. Like, I come home and it's like I help around the house, and like, you don't get money for that. That's just part of your duties. And then I go to school and we're like, my mom gave me $5 because I did my bed. And I was like, you got money for doing your bed? And she's like, yeah, but I really didn't do it. I did it wrong. And then she did it, and I still got $5. And I was like, oh, that's good. That's cool. So I grew up with this, like, two different worlds. Like, I would step into one world when I walked through the threshold in my house, and then when I exit the door, it was a different world again. And so I learned there's different rules and different ways of doing things in both worlds. And so I had to learn to adapt to, like, survive in two different worlds. And there was no way that I was going to get paid coaching and acting classes. So I remember one day I told my mom, well, there's a YMCA class that are doing, like, a improv class, like $12.50. And I was like, can I have the money? And she said, no, mijo, no tenemos dinero. Like, that's for laundry. We got to get, like, this is when we would go and do laundry at the laundromat. You carry your laundry in, like, a shopping cart, and you drag it over to the laundromat and get coins. You collect coins all week to, like, get it. And then we were walking home again, and I looked at this guy in the park, and he was going through the trash, and I was like, what is he doing? ¿Qué hace? And she said, oh, vende los botes. And it was like, he sells the trash? And he's like, you can make money selling the cans and the bottles. And I was like, you can make money selling trash? So I ran into her closet, and I got a wire hanger, and I unhooked it, and I made it into a long, skinny claw, and I went through trash cans through all that park after school with a little, like, plastic bags, and we went to the Food for Less down the street. They had a recycling center next to it. And I would take my cans, and they weigh them, and they give you a voucher, and you go into the Food for Less, and you give them the voucher, and it says, like, a check, like, it's how much you are allotted for that stuff. And the first round, it took me 2 weeks, and I only made about $6.70 or something like that. And I was like, the cost is like $12.50. And I resented my friend who had just gone up to their parent and said, Mom, can I have the money? And they got the money right there because I had to work so hard for it. And I was like, why am I having to do this? Whatever, I'll do it. And I did another 2 weeks, got the money, took the class, and the class was only about an hour and a half long. It was more like babysitting because they divided the group into, like, smaller kids and the older kids. And the older kids got to do, like, short monologues and stuff. And the younger kids got to do, like, improv. And they're like, now you're a lion. Ooh, now you're a bear. Ah. And so you're doing all these crazy things. But after I did it and after I was done, I just remember I just was so excited, and I had this crackle and, like, energy to performing that I remember thinking, wow, that took me a month to raise all that money to, like, to sell all those cans to just take this one class. Do I want to do this again? And then I said to myself, yeah, I do. And I collected cans and continued to sell them to pay for my first classes, my first, like, dance class, drama class. I paid through my own, like, high school, like, yearbook, my first car. Like, I eventually got, like, a job, like, working, like, a fast food place, and I was, like, double, like, working at the mall and, like, just paying for classes and continuing to get trained, So that was kind of my thing. And so, like, I started an acting career collecting cans and bottles.
We have some questions here. What killed it in The Magicians? That's another show you were on, The Magicians.
Yeah. What was the question? What did they ask?
Well, they're just saying that you killed it. They love you.
Thank you.
They're talking about Victoria Justice. I wish Victoria Justice was on your show.
Oh, Victoria and I did a show called Eye Candy. That's why. We did a show in 2016 called Eye Candy, which is a really cool show. And that was a book originally by R.L. Stine, so it turned into a TV show.
Okay. Are you working on any new projects and movies? And aren't you going to come out in something on Quibi?
Yeah, so I have a movie that I filmed and I wrapped right before this whole thing happened. We shot a movie called Werewolves Within, which is a really fun whodunit kind of film. And it's kind of like a Knives Out, style. So that's a really cool film I'm looking forward to. And hopefully we'll be premiering that at maybe Sundance, next season. So who knows? But that one's coming out next year. And Quibi, I'm in a show that's directed by Catherine Hardaway, who directed me in Eye Candy with Victoria. It's called Don't Look Deeper, and that one's with Don Cheadle and Emily Mortimer and myself and another group of amazing cast. And that comes out on Quibi this summer.
So you've been acting now for more than a decade. You're successful. You're a working actor. We have a lot of actors that watch Open Dialogue with us. They always want to know, how did you go from a starving, struggling actor to a working actor? Share your journey with us.
Yeah, I feel like you never stop learning as an actor. I feel like every time you get a job, you've won the lottery, because this business is really tough. Mm-hmm. It's not for the weak of heart, it's or the faint of heart, because the roller coaster is really a roller coaster. When the highs are high, they're really high, and then they're low, but you have to be smart and strategic in how you give that power to someone else. And when I say that, I mean, for so long, I would wait for someone to tell me I was good enough to get the part or get a role, and trying to fit a mold. And if you waste your career or life trying to fit a mold, you're more likely than less not going to be working, because you're trying to cater to someone and what their vision is of a perfect actor or a perfect performer. What you have to focus on is your mold and what you're offering. And so what you bring to the table is a brand. And you bring this to the table, you're like, this is what I got. This is the color of my eyes. This is my height. This is my personality. This is my talent. And it comes as a package. And you can rent this all tonight for, a certain amount, because you can put me on that show, and you can have it all for the low price of, a week's salary of SAG, and you're selling yourself as a package. And so when people try to fit a mold, I feel like early on in my career, I was being told that, you have to lose weight, and you have to do this, you have to do that. And like, I regret wasting time doing things like, trying to fit into someone else's perfect image of what a good actor or performer is, because your goal as an actor should be to walk into the room and wow them. And if you're not right for the part, then you're not right for the part. It doesn't take away from your talent. You just walk in, do it, and you say, did you guys like it? You liked it? You liked, but not right now, not good right now? Okay, good. And then next audition, because if more actors hear more no's in 1 week than most people hear in a lifetime, because our career is changing and evolving. You get a job and a movie, and you're on a high for 3 months, and then you don't work for 4 months, and so then you are struggling. You're worried about your finance and whatnot, and so you're always thinking about the next job. So eventually what I started doing is instead of waiting for the next job to come to me, why don't try to create something that could potentially be your own piece of art. So create your own content, create your own movie, create your own show idea. And so it's ready to go when the opportunity comes. It's here it is. And also it distracts you from waiting by the phone. And I get it, struggling actors have to get that, job at Starbucks or waiting tables. And I've done that all. So there's never been a moment where I felt I made it. I am a working actor, because even now being on a show, you're still working on the next, job or the next show, because you don't know how long this show is going to last and how long the longevity of the show is. And so you're always constantly working at the next thing, So your goal should never be to be content. You should always be building, stepping stones at the right direction.
I remember having us the discussion, and you never take anything for granted, you said.
Yeah, I don't because again, like I came from nothing, like I came from really humble beginnings and like every time I need a reminder if I get upset about something or like it's such a minor problem, but I get, as everyone does, like having a bad day or something, I remind myself and all I do is I can just walk around in my space or at my place or wherever I'm at and just remind myself that everything I own or I have, my talent and my hard work bought for me, whether that be something I bought years ago when I wasn't working as an actor and I was working as something else. Like everything I have, my ability got for me. So remember that you're talented and you have the ability to do what you want to do. It's just someone has to give you the opportunity, and so you're just holding out until someone gives you the opportunity to show it or show them yourself and create it yourself.
So pros 005, good question. Viva la Pepet. Med Pepper, will Guillermo's character ever get a girlfriend or at least a female counterpart?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know. They don't tell us what the characters are going towards. Like, I didn't know that there was going to be this whole stunt and like, action-packed episodes, which I enjoyed. And they keep us on our toes. That's a good idea. I think that would be a nice twist to add a girlfriend to Guillermo, because that would split his time up. Right now he's so devoted to something that he doesn't really have time for a social life. So if something like that were to happen, it would definitely throw things off balance in the household, and I think that's a good idea. So good idea. We'll send it over to the writers.
Yeah, he needs to get some kind of attention from somebody, and it doesn't have to be a female counterpart.
No, I mean, and we come to the realization that everyone in the household is queer in a way, because the vampires are pansexual, and so the vampires really, they are, all of them are, and so we're really kind of a cool show in that way, where everyone is just, you like what you like, and if you like that in the moment, you like that in the moment, and no one's judging you, and I kind of like that. That's the idea behind the vampires in the whole household, pretty much. So. You never know. Like Guillermo could, bring home a girlfriend, he could bring home a boyfriend. You don't know him, okay? You don't know him.
Maybe he's into older women. I can see that.
You don't know him.
So Zachary Charles Ugarte, we love Harvey. Emma Selinsky, you are brilliant.
Oh.
Totachik Lali, what is your favorite vampire movie?
Oh, this is so funny and cliche, but I actually really do like Interview with the Vampire. I really like it. I think it's more because it takes place pretty much in New Orleans, and I really like New Orleans. I like New Orleans. I like Savannah, Georgia. That feel with the Spanish moss on the trees. I just like that old, Southern draw, and I don't know. And I like the whole idea, like a Creole accent. It's just that idea of, yeah, I really like New Orleans. I think I like the movie because it introduced me to New Orleans. I didn't really know that New Orleans is a real place until I saw the movie, and I was like, whoa, what made up city is this where vampires live, and it's the 1800s, and then I realized, oh, that's a real city. That's a real, no, yeah.
When you were there, did you take the cemetery tour?
I did take a tour. I did the tour.
Too.
I went there to celebrate my friend Abril's birthday. Shout out to Abril, who's probably watching right now. Abril Ibarra, and we celebrated her birthday in New Orleans, and we did the whole tour with a group of friends, and it was just really fun. It was we went to the cemetery, which was freezing because we didn't think this through, but it was around New Year's. Her birthday is around New Year's, and so we're just it's gonna be really cold, but not really because it's the South, so it'll be warmer, right? It was not. It was still cold, and we had to do the walking tour. So we did the walking tour in the cemetery, and we're just and here is Marie Laveau, and we're oh, Marie Laveau.
So here at NHMC, we love Summer Bichette. What was it like working on The Magicians?
Oh yeah, Summer is such a cool soul. She's one of the first people I met when I got to set, and when I joined the cast, it was second season. They did 5 seasons, right? Yeah, and I joined the cast in second season for a couple episodes. Came back for a third season. Was off for the 4th season. mostly scheduling conflict because I was shooting What We Do in the Shadows around